Do you, Sal?
Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you 100%. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, perfect. So I've got you on the all recorded. Excellent.
Nothing like a little bit of record pressure.
Hang on. I'm
Live recorded pressure. So not only is it recorded, but it's live. I like that. And I don't have any notes. I haven't got a script. Is that all right? You guys...
I think that's the best way. I had a whole script ready to go, but I reckon let's just do it the green school way and just, as we often say, that's it. Or we say we're building the plane as we're flying it. So there you go. Yeah, either one. Yeah. Well, I'll just say a warm welcome to, I'm just going to plug in an extra light here because I can see the light here in Melbourne is quickly fading. So a warm welcome. We have some of our FSA schools on the live Zoom. So they've come armed with questions for you, Sal. Mm-hmm. And we also have an audience on our live stream on our YouTube channel. So it's all happening here in my little home studio from Melbourne. But firstly, just a warm thank you to yourself, Sal, and Kate in her absence at the moment. I'm sure she'll come running in at any point.
Kate. Yeah, she'll be here. Yeah,
she will be. But thank you so much. I'll just do introductions first, and for FSA leaders that have joined us on our live Zoom here, we'll open up that opportunity to questions, but we're really keen to explore today everything from around innovation and sustainability, and hear a little bit about your own journey as well, Sal. For those joining us on our live stream, a warm welcome as well. But I thought we might just start as we're getting a few people in. I do have the little 5-minute clip on YouTube, and I might just take the opportunity to share that just to give everyone an overview of Green School in action. So I'm going to go share my screen and bring up Chrome and bring up. Now, can we all see Green School Bali there? Is that what we're seeing on the screen? I can see a nod.
I can see all your tabs.
Internet
banking. Did you share video, Jen?
I'll stop share and I'll do exactly what share screen. Yep, share sound, and here we go. So Green School Bali, 5-minute quick video.
Welcome to my world.
He means our world.
This is Green School.
A place where we make solutions happen.
We're teachers.
And students like me. And parents
like us.
And members of the community.
And us. And especially me. We come together
to make a difference in the world every day.
By living sustainably.
We learn how to solve problems.
We turn used cooking oil into fuel.
We grow our own food.
We experiment.
We innovate.
We're building a model for the future.
Join us.
We stand together.
And support you.
To become more green.
We are entrepreneurs. Because we want to make the world a better place. To be a model for the future now.
Through education. We engage with the local community.
We invite people from all around the world.
To connect with us.
And join forces.
We can make a difference.
Education is our ally.
The future of our planet is now.
We are the future.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Done. A warm welcome, everyone. My name is Jen Buchanan, and I'm convener of Communities of Future Schools Alliance, and we are currently 70 member schools across Australia and internationally, looking to evolve the future of education. And as part of that journey, we welcome the opportunity to have these virtual school tours as a catalyst for conversation of actually what's happening out there, what's happening out there on that education horizon. And I'm truly thankful to be talking today with Sal, principal at Green School in Bali, And this is an opportunity just to have a few questions, have a bit of a chat, and we also do have the virtual school tour to play at the end of our Q&A this afternoon, Sal. But firstly, I'd love to just start with a little bit of an introduction of your own journey. I know our journey began as a friendship 8 years ago, and I was reflecting on that earlier today, and I remember us, I don't know if you remember this, Sal, but we actually did a dance in the heart of school on a very hot, humid Bali afternoon, and that's one of my very earliest memories. But 8 years ago that began. So wow. Tell me a little bit about your own journey as an educator and subsequently as taking a leadership role in Green School.
Hi, Jen. Hi, everyone. It is an absolute pleasure to be connecting to future schools people and like-minded education revolutionaries like myself. And first of all, just want to say thank you for providing the opportunity. Where do I start with my journey? Jen, I went to a really cool private school in Adelaide. I went straight to a university degree, took a gap year, and at the very start of that gap year, I realized that basically 12 years of formal education, 3.5 years of university undergraduate, hadn't really prepared me for the real world like I wanted it to and like I expected it to. I felt like I had missed out somewhere, and I felt like the education had sort of let me down. My gap year turned into a gap decade because the longer and the bigger that realization grew, I realized that although I'd been taught a lot of information and passed a lot of exams at school, I really hadn't been prepared in terms of values-based or skills-based, project-based, real learning to a point where I could function and not just function, but excel and live a happy, fulfilled life and make a difference. So I spent about, it's true, I did a gap decade where I traveled and I worked and I upskilled and I met people and I learned languages. I worked in a whole heap of different areas. And it sort of came to me after about 10 years, whilst I was in one of my other passions, which was sailing, that nearly my whole life during that gap decade, and even probably before at school and at university, that I'd been an active learner, but also a teacher. So when the story got real and I was starting a family and thinking about what was I going to do in the real world, I realized I was being a teacher all my life, and that teaching and learning were really special to me, and things like, I'm a science and maths teacher by trade, and that these things, I believe, are magic and numbers and the explanation that science gives us about our lives and us in it. And I wanted to be an educator. I wanted to be a school teacher. So as a mature age student, I went back to university in Melbourne, quit my sailing job. I had a job where I sailed $1 million boats around the Whitsundays. It was a hard life, but someone had to do it. But I quit all that and I went back to school and I went back to uni and I did my diploma of education in Melbourne, and then got a job in a country school in Orbost. I don't know if people know Orbost in East Gippsland in Victoria. The first day I started teaching, I realized that I walked onto a campus that looked like the campus I went to when I was a kid. I noticed textbooks in the cupboards at the school that were similar to the ones, probably could have been the same, that I was taught with. I looked at documentation, curriculum, learning outcomes, examinations, assessment strategies. Now, the whole concept of learning from curriculum design, implementation, assessment hadn't really changed in all of that time I'd been out of school. And I came to the realization that I was working in a system that I didn't actually really want my kids to be a part of. And that was scary for me as a parent, but also as an educator, to think that education had been locked in a time capsule for so long and hadn't really adapted to the real world and the needs of the future, the needs of the future generations. So I started to buck the system, and I liked doing that. I designed some integrated sustainability units. I tore apart sort of curriculum documents in terms of lower high school, grade 7 and 8 and 9. And I started doing things sort of out of the box and with a sustainability mindset. with values and skills-based learning opportunities. I broke down the walls of having to assess for giving students a number. And I did that quite successfully in an Australian public school system, really sort of out on a limb and out on my own. But it lit the fire of desire in me that something could change, because it was apparent to me that something needed to change. And I trial ran it in Australia as a secondary school teacher in Australia, to showing that you could change it, because we all know that things should change in some ways, but whether we can affect that change is another thing. It was difficult though, because making that impact and designing different sustainability units for a public school in Australia was okay, as long as I suppose the education department didn't knock on my door. They're not here, are they?
No, we haven't brought them along. You're okay, sir.
Just kidding. And I, again, starting a young family, I'd been connected to different Asian cultures before. I realized that probably the impact I could have would be much greater if I was at a different school and in a different country. Synchronicity works in amazing ways, that a friend of mine was applying for a Green School Bali job and came to my house for me to help him apply for it. And I ended up applying for another job, and I got the job. He didn't. And it all worked out well for me. 8 years ago, I came here and walked through the door, and my life changed, because not only are we designing a new model of education, but the access to a beautiful jungle campus, our focus on this being more than just a school, of being a place where a community comes together, learns together, shares together, celebrates together. The amazing Indonesian and Balinese culture, so many parts of this place just fit for me, and for me professionally, and for me personally as a father. I taught in the middle school, 60 kids. I love it. 60 kids, 5 teachers. And we were basically given an open plan. Do whatever you like, do what you think's best for education for middle school years. And so we designed a pretty awesome middle school program that had integrated units, that had experiential units, it had strong proficiency classes. It gave students choice in their learning program. It connected the students with the community. It turned their learning from something that is an abstract concept for maybe in the future, to accessing and utilizing their learning for now. And so I taught in the middle school, and I loved it. And then I was head of middle school for 2 years, and now this is my second year. Fast forward through COVID to now, a second year as principal, head of teaching and learning here.
There's been a couple of points there, and I would love to push a little bit deeper on this one.
Sure.
You commented a little bit about needs of a future generation. And there's something quite nuanced around the conversations, or when you go onto the Green School website, it's very much about a school for now rather than referring to a school for the future. Would you like to just talk a little bit more? Can I dig a bit deeper into that?
Yeah, totally. We all know the world changes, and it's one of the constants in life that everything changes. I think the world's been on an exponential change curve in specific, really important parts of what we know as life. So in terms of technological change, in terms of environmental change and societal change, these three big cogs that turn the wheel of life for us here on this beautiful planet, changing exponential. And even you look at Moore's law, for example, it's got this crazy exponential curve of doubling in efficiency and speed, in halving in costs over every 2-year period. And that's been happening for 50 plus years. But somehow, so with this world changing exponentially, you would think that an education system, or education systems around the world, that are designed to teach, to provide learning opportunities for students across the world from an age of 3 down here, or 5 to 18, you would think that those education systems would change to be reflective of the needs and the changing world, but they don't. I could probably go into a grade 10 exam right now with my phone and get a pretty good score, because everything that I taught was mostly based on information. So we move from an information-based learning program, or concept of what is school, and we move to a place, well, it's not information we're trying to impart. The skills and values are just as important. And everyone is talking skill-based learning and values-based learning at the moment. But you can't actually do that unless you actually change your underlying pedagogical beliefs as well. So it's not just the what of what you teach. So are we going to teach a whole heap of information, or are we going to provide critical thinking, empathy courses? Are we going to define our school values and base learning experiences on it for our whole community? You need to change your pedagogical statement to base that up. So for us at Green School, we do have a really concise, and we worked a long time at it, a long time, and you'll be surprised how simple it is. But we believe that all learning experiences for educating for now and for the future need to be real. So we know that REAL stands for relationship building. We want our students to build a relationship with themselves, with their environment, with their peers, with their learning, with the community. We know that students, E is real, RE, E is for experiential and evolving. So we know our students learn by doing. And if you want to see skills and values-based learning opportunities, then they are experiential learning opportunities. We know that values-based learning is an action-based concept. You can't learn a value by reading about it. You have to do the value. The A stands for authentic. So in our pedagogy with real, we need real world authentic learning experiences. There's no point providing learning opportunities for, honestly, sorry, but if you're going to study some of the historical, we're not going to jump down the rabbit hole, but some of the historical things that are taught in schools, even though most of them are probably white male propaganda history, it's pointless. I can Google it. I'm not interested in the dates that someone in history was born and died. I'm interested in what they did and my realization of how that's impacted the planet. So authentic, sustainability's got to come into authentic, because if there's anything more important than moving towards a sustainable future, I got no idea, because sustainability has to be central. The last one is L, local to global. We like our learning to be local. It needs to mean something to us individually. It needs to connect us to our local community, and it needs to provide us opportunities to go from local, smaller, micro to macro global systems as well. So learning for now at Green School, in summary, because that's a pretty long answer, you need to move, or we've moved away from a total information-based learning program to include values and skills. To do that, we created our own pedagogical statement around real learning. Within that, we need to do a lot of service learning. We need to connect with our community. We do community projects, experiential learning, student-centered. A lot of it is about, here's something to learn now, but we want you to use it now. And there's so many examples of our students that are using their learning that they're getting right now in their classroom today, that are using it now. So it's not something that, if there's teachers in the room, I wonder how many times kids put their hand up and said, when am I ever going to use this?
Certainly. With that though, I'm going to push you. I want to hear about it in action. Come on, some of these projects with the real world learning, I know a few of them, and I'd love to hear a few more. I don't know if the biobus still is in operation.
Biobus is a great one.
Yep.
Through a series of sustainability audits, we identified that our school could be greener in terms of our transport. And we also realized that there's a pretty terrible black market used cooking oil thing on this island. So we've actually turned two problems. One is the throwing out of used cooking oil into the rivers and the drains, and the other one's the transport problem. And so now we have the grease police, which is a part of a high school program, go around to businesses, collect oil. It gets distilled into biodiesel and a couple of other byproducts, which we use in the biolab. And so that before COVID, we were running 7 biobuses on used cooking oil to transport our kids to and from school, and also take students around the island for experiential learning opportunities.
And how has that impacted on that wider community? Just the awareness around when we look at sustainability, building that ecosystem.
I think there's so many impacts, but one of the best impacts for it is that people can see that learning in a classroom, our classrooms are pretty similar to, they're beautiful, nice bamboo buildings, but learning in a classroom can actually have a positive impact on the planet. And I don't know if many schools have sort of cracked that nut, because isn't that important for your students to realize that they're learning something meaningful and that their learning could actually make a difference and make a difference to their lives, but also make a difference to the community life as well. So
absolutely. And talking on that community, that might be a nice little segue, because I can see a couple of little questions popping up in the chat here. Just about the, yes. Oh, really?
I'd like to introduce Kate
Ruhan. Kate, lovely. You've just arrived. I've got my question for you.
I heard my cue when you started talking about communities.
Yeah.
So I'm yes, fully present, a little bit late, but thanks so much it's great to be part of the conversation. Cheers.
Lovely to see you, Kate. Kate, I'm going to fire straight into a question as head of the community environment there. Could you tell us a little bit about the makeup of the school, student population, possibly even staff? I'll leave it with you. Yeah,
sure. So this, the school is really an ecosystem. We think of it that way, and everybody's a learner. So we love that idea. And that comes with all sorts of opportunities and challenges. But we have at the moment around 350 students in the school. How many teachers, Sal?
80.
Would you say about 80? About that many again in our operations staff?
A mix of international and local.
International and local teachers and staff. And of course, we have the main kind of body of the school, which is the full-time program for our early years, primary school, middle school and high school students. And then we have all sorts of other initiatives and enterprises that sort of wrap around it. So we have parent learning. We run courses for teachers called the Green Educator program. We have our social enterprises, our bus service. We have a parent co-working space, and all of these little enterprises that sit around, they hug around the main core of the school, and they're little self-sustaining businesses that also are full of learning for the students. So that's kind of the model. That's the setup for the school. And yes, I get to support Sal in his role as head of teaching and learning and look after all the other fun bits around the community and welcoming families in and seeing them on their way out when they leave us, and parent programs and our educator programs and all sorts of other pieces.
I was having a conversation earlier with somebody else that we were working with at Green School back in the day, and we were commenting on just like, wow, if we could get everybody in the room from the last 8 years, love to just map where we've all gone and transitioned to beyond Green School, not only our students, but our staff. And maybe I'd be curious to know, like how, especially students, where they transition to after Green School, both your local scholars and your international cohort.
Yeah, it's a fantastic.
We've got some pretty cool alumni. We've graduated 8 years of grade 12 graduates. And some pretty good alumni information on the website. But a lot of the best things we get from our alumni really are that satisfaction in being a part of a community and building skills again, I think. For us, we collected some data recently, and, they rate themselves high to extremely high in their ability to be resilient and to be adapt and respond to change. Things like that are really important to us and should be important to us as educators, because I'm not really sure why we bother teaching these volume of a circle formula forever and ever to kids to write down an answer in an exam, when we really should be providing them real opportunities to learn real things like being adaptive. Just one example. And our kids graduate with a high school diploma that's similar to an American high school diploma. There's a few challenges in getting into universities in different countries. Currently, we've got 52 countries represented here in the current student body. Is that right?
Yes.
So out of 350 students, there's 52 different countries currently represented at Green School. So there is a challenge on transition, because we're transitioning to literally 50 countries around the world, which is an awesome opportunity, and it helps us to be a diverse community as well.
It's interesting. We have around, I think, 160 graduates so far out of the school. Most end up going to university, either straight away or a little bit later. But we do notice, and this is probably more recently, a lot of students or graduates that are really wanting to take a different direction completely. So starting their own business, or some have started a foundation or a movement, or are doing, a micro degree or a diploma course, just sort of cherry picking things that they particularly want to get deep on or understand more deeply to just take them to the next sort of stage. And I think we're learning a lot from our graduates on what life looks like and how young people are thinking about what they do post graduation. And I have two Green School graduates myself. I have my own little collection Green School graduates. I have my third child still at this school here. But, it's really interesting how younger people are thinking about learning, lifelong learning. And it's not, well, I finished school, I go to university, then I've got all the learning pieces and credentials I need to then go and build a career. I think they are really thinking quite differently about what a lifetime of learning looks like and how they can dip in and out and build pieces that they need along the way.
Yeah.
And it is interesting too, and a little bit depressing sometimes that, we have many visitors that come to the school, and it's a beautiful thing for us. We get to connect with all these amazing people, educators and other people from around the world that are curious about the Green School. But so often still that question is, where do your graduates, what universities do your graduates go to? And it's a question we have a very good answer to, and that's fabulous. But it would be really interesting to see that conversation change a little bit. I know Sal has some ideas on that, because I think kids are thinking differently these days when they launch out of school and into the world.
No, that's
I like to see, just put in like, our grade 12 graduates, so it might sound funny to everyone here, but they don't actually do the formal end of year or end of unit, end of subject exams as part of their formal assessment. They actually come into this space here and stand actually right here with normally pre-COVID 500 community members, where they're live streamed to YouTube people all around the world, and they stand up and present, they stand and deliver about their learning for now to their community. And that, I think, is a better examination of learning and a better description of learning and who a student is than any exam I've been able to set for a student or any exam I took as a student myself. So back to learning for now and what our students leave with. They leave with a passion about something. They leave with an understanding of what community is. They leave with an understanding of lifelong learning and skills and values being important to that. But they leave with a sense that their learning had an impact in their life now, rather than maybe it possibly could be perchance used later.
Certainly that greenstone is a highlight of the year. And you've got that across the different year levels as well.
Yeah, so our grade 8s do a similar thing. We have a primary and a middle school. Primary do a footprints project, and that's sometimes in groups because they're in grade 5, and that's their graduation culmination sort of passion project. Grade 8s do a similar thing. They stand up here as well, right here where I'm sitting in our sun cup in our big community building, and they present about their learning in a specific project that they've created and taken through to completion. And our high school grade 12s do the same thing.
And that might lead into, I've seen another question pop up. Now, I remember very clearly back in the day, standing there in front of some high school students and pitching my class. Of trying to get them to come to my, I remember pitching an eco art class that we were going to make all our own paints and papers and go on these amazing journeys. Does it still happen with how much and where that collaboration maybe between students and staff in designing some of that curriculum and meeting some of those learning needs?
Yeah, it definitely happens. There's a grade 12 student, Chloe, Chloe's actually co-teaching with a high school teacher, a climate change class at the moment, and she's focused on the fast fashion industry. They've actually designed a project on sort of an upcycle sort of concept using the local frog market, which is a secondhand clothes market. It happens all the time. The high school programs had to adapt a little bit through COVID because we're now just functioning with learning pods. We're trying not to mix everyone too much in terms of keeping our community safe. I know it's a little bit different in Australia with COVID, but there's still a fair bit of COVID around here. It's the first time I've been in public without a mask on for a year. But the concept of designing your own learning experience and creating real, back to our pedagogical statements, these learning experiences that have got relationships and experiential and authentic and then local to global, relies on our teachers being creative. We haven't thrown away a really strong sort of literacy in mathematics and science programs. We've got some strong environmental science programs that we'd like to keep building on. But there are a lot of choices where students can either say to a teacher, hey, why don't we do a game unit on such and such, which has happened many, many times, or teachers coming together and collaborating and creating integrated units themselves.
Yeah,
I think
fabulous.
once you move away from a traditional model where students go from maths classroom to literacy classroom to a history class to a physics or chem or whatever, and you take away the boundaries, this concept of wall-less education isn't really just about buildings being wall-less. We're talking about boundaries in terms of walls. When you take that wall-less structure and you put it into a student-centered approach, into a real learning approach, you get some amazing opportunities, some amazing high school classes and middle school classes where teachers have created stuff that's relevant to now and provides opportunities for students to use their learning now, but also to upskill and to demonstrate good values.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to put this over to our audience. I can see we've got quite a few people here on the call.
How many? I can't see any of them.
Oh, they're all hidden here. Let me put it onto a gallery view. So these are some of got some FSA school leaders here, and I'll put it out to our group. If there's any questions, if you'd like to come off mic, I hope I've covered some of them in the chat, but if anyone on our call here would like to.
By the way, Jen, that slow art class that you did, still much loved and remembered very, very fondly at Green School. I love that. All the legacy pieces that different educators have left at the school, many of which, have been picked up and evolved upon. But yeah, I remember that well.
It's an interesting one because there's something about Green School. I physically have left Green School, but the understanding and the concepts and the ideas stay with me. And I often talk about arriving at Green School with my, thinking I understood about sustainability with my keep cup in hand and a reusable shopping bag, and that was it. I was all ready to go. The way that the legacy that Green School has had on me and the impact in how I am in the world, how I interact, and it's far more than just a sustainability in terms of materials. It's very much a mindset, and it's probably led me to where I am here with Future Schools Alliance and working with this amazing group of leaders across our FSA schools. So on that point, over to our audience here with any burning questions.
We do have a question from Trish. How does the school look to First Nations people for both wisdom and inspiration?
In every way possible. Before COVID, before we were sort of shut down a fair bit, we're connecting with local Indonesian, but also just, I suppose, region-specific Asian Indigenous people. We have focus special days in our calendar that we bring people in. I suppose a lot of that comes down to good environmental science or sustainability based education too, because a lot of our Indigenous and ancient wisdom is nature based, and so we rely on even our local gardens and learning from our environment and the people that have lived here for a long time and look after our gardens. I suppose it is something that takes an effort, because you need to break down the walls. You need to constantly keep inviting more people and being open to an understanding. We've got lots of strong connections with different local/Indigenous groups around Indonesia. Indonesia's a hot pot for Indigenous wisdom, an amazing place of wisdom. So, I'd say it happens organically across different learning programs with different teachers integrating it in, but it also happens in a whole community times. We've had sort of Indigenous Wisdom Week and Indigenous Weeks as well. More information?
Yeah, I think as an international school, it's very easy to get those pieces really wrong. And I think it is fair to say we've not always gotten those things right. And, the learning continues, and we have to listen and be guided no matter how big our ideas might be at different times. When I say our, I'm talking about the two of us sitting here. But of course, the school is run in a very collaborative way, including with our senior Balinese team members to guide us really in the direction that is right, mutually beneficial. And I think one of the things, having been in other international schools, that really I wasn't really expecting when I came to Green School, and has been such a big moving part of the experience as a family, as an enrolled family, has been the scholar program that we have in the school. So Indonesian students by number are our second biggest group by nationality, and 10% of our students are on scholarship, Balinese children on scholarship. So my son has, I think he has around 15 in his class, 16 maybe. And I think 6 of them are Balinese children. And that's what a privilege for my son. But I think that's where intentionally and organically trying to work together and infuse and weave together and weave in cultural understanding, cultural awareness, the opportunity to learn really intentionally, a deep sense of respect as a value above all across the school sets a good foundation. And then we make mistakes, but being open, being vulnerable, and being ready to admit that and listen and learn and improve. I think that's been the general approach, and it will continue.
It's crazy. I remember, there's a little anecdote based around that, but I remember having one of our Indigenous Wisdom Weeks, and we had some Maori people. I think we had some Indigenous Australians. We had lots of different representatives from different Indonesian Indigenous cultures. We don't do a welcome to the land which we do in Australia, where you stand up and you recognise the traditional owners. They do that in New Zealand as well, but we got in a little bit of trouble for that because it's not part of Indonesian local custom or culture to do that. And other cultures coming into here were like a little bit sort of, why aren't you guys paying respects to the traditional owners of the land that you're on right now? And I'm like, well, it's not something that we do, and I know that we should. But then who am I to tell the Indonesian Indigenous culture how to run? So, yeah, interesting.
So there's a number of green school spin-offs, Mexico, South Africa, New Zealand. Fred makes the point, not an Australian green school yet. Why is that?
Red tape, 2 words.
Red tape. Yeah. Bali, I mean, it might sound a little bit crazy and idealistic for everyone, but we have had an amazing opportunity over 13 years to exist and create a school system and a model outside of government regulations on what a school should be and what a school should teach. And that's an awesome opportunity that I didn't even think was a chance. I didn't even think that was part of the deal here. But when we've started up schools in New Zealand and a school in South Africa, this is probably the mothership, and I think the model that is the center of innovation. And our other green schools in New Zealand and South Africa will take part of what is green school here, but have to abide in a way in terms of motorbikes, in terms of the local government regulations on curriculum and what you teach at school. So, and I know the Australian curriculum's really strong. I think it needs a little bit of a redivert, but I can't see any reason in the future that there wouldn't be a couple of really cool Byron Bay Green School.
I think it's only a matter of time.
The Whitsunday Islands Green School? Yeah.
I think it's only a matter of time until there is a green school Australia. And I think, we've learned a lot over the past few years in just how to replicate the model in a different jurisdiction that is culturally different, that has different rules, and really distilling, what is the essence of our school that makes it a school. That can mean actually you could potentially work with different curriculum, but the delivery of the learning, and the amount of flex that is within a curriculum that allows teachers to be creative, all of that can be sort of worked through. And then the physical environment, we think about programs, sort of people and place. And so, a culture that can be built, a sense of community, the curriculum itself and how it can be modified or taught in a different way, going back to the pedagogy that underpins a lot of what we do. So I think there's
education expert here.
No, I know. I just get all the buzzwords from him and relay them as if I know what I'm talking about. But I think that what's interesting about New Zealand and South Africa so far is that these were families that actually brought their children to Green School Bali from those countries, and their children had a transformational experience, and they were so inspired that they actually wanted to create a green school in their home country. And that's what's happened so far. So only a matter of time for Australia.
The concept, can I say any more? That concept really links to, probably one of the biggest challenges is that we face here and that I feel myself is that we've created a new model, and we're not perfect here at all. And we make mistakes, but we risk a lot, and we do make mistakes, but we learn. We've created a concept of a different model of school, different pedagogical and curriculum statements to back it up. Really live, rich learning programs. But in a way, I feel like we're teaching to the converted, because nearly everyone comes to Green School Bali comes to Bali just for Green School Bali. We're teaching sustainability to sustainability-minded people, and we've made an impact on a small, limited number of students in terms of what and how they learn and how they demonstrate their learning. But that to me is sort of not enough. And when I talk about an education revolution or being part of mass change, I'm talking about other schools in other countries around the world realizing that things need to change in terms of their education system. And that's the biggest challenge for us. We hope that Green School can be a part of that in a global network with schools popping up around the world in different countries. There are challenges within that. But it is probably what I see as a great challenge of taking a model that works here in Indonesia with very few regulations, and transferring that to a lot of different other countries. It's important for me. It's very important for me that education changes, and Green School Bali's done a job here, but how that transfers elsewhere is a real challenge.
And there was a point in there of talking about teacher creativity and having that freedom to kind of explore education, pedagogy, different models of schooling. And I'm just noticing on one of the chats, it probably leads in nicely to a question. I'm just going to ask Todd. I won't paraphrase. I'll let Todd ask that question. So Todd's down there in Tasmania.
Yeah, we'd like to think we're leading the charge for a green school in some ways down here in Tassie. Thanks for allowing me to ask a question. It's really around the teaching faculty, I suppose, or the group of teachers, and how, as a learning community, I have in the chat said before, during and after, I forgot to say a normal day, allow teachers to collaborate. Often that can happen on the fly, but how does a learning community that incorporates teachers as much as students look at the Bali Green School?
I think part of that is being a little bit overstaffed in terms of how faculty models run in sort of schools in Australia. We said before, there's 350 students here and probably about 80 on faculty, which is a pretty good student-teacher ratio. We've got an opportunity in terms of our local hires as well to have more teachers, and probably a lot more teachers. I don't know if there's 80 teachers at schools in Australia with 350 kids in them. Probably not. No. So being a little bit more overly overstaffed, I think that provides options in the teacher schedules for collaborative learning and planning. I think a big part of it too, Todd, is that our teachers here are not just coming for a paycheck. They're dedicated, passionate, innovative educators who want to make a difference, like me. And they're invested in this in more than just a professional, but it becomes personal. And so, that collaboration that might happen in other schools definitely happens here, because people want to make a change and want to do some really cool things in education. So I think our teachers here probably have a little bit more time on their hands in terms of their schedule, but also the teachers here are a task. It's an expectation. It's not accepted, it's expected that they're innovative and that their units change and evolve through the years, and that they tap into the collective experience and wisdom of a whole group of educators. So
it's a super rich culture that you've developed over those 8 years, which is awesome.
It doesn't always work. It's not perfect. It's really tough to maintain that, because there's we have our teachers stay for about 3 to 4 years, I think, on average. But all these opportunities come with challenges, and it's a pretty high paced sort of pretty awesome but high paced place to work, and I'm mindful that probably 3 or 4 years in the jungle here and being on the front line could be enough for a lot of people as well.
And your recruitment, just quickly, how that goes? Obviously, you're probably pretty popular when it comes to recruiting.
Well, Bali's sort of a nice place to live too, so we don't have any problems with attracting people to Bali in general. We've just finished our hiring cycle for next year. We did it without a HR system because we couldn't afford it, and ran it through an inbox basically that went through the website, join our team. And we get hundreds and hundreds of applicants for nearly every job that we put there. And a full spectrum, because there's a lot of people that think even though you need a formal teaching degree with 5 years teaching experience that we could actually just hire someone that likes doing yoga, which is cool. But no, we can't do that. We need full experienced teachers that have got degrees and things like that too. Well, I suppose we do a fair bit of, with such a large applicant pool, Todd, we get a lot of choice from, sort of top educators, and we're allowed to pick the cream off the top, and then it becomes really a personality hire, I think too. So much of what we do as educators is personal. One of my adages is you make it personal, but you don't take it personally. And I think that we hire in terms of a team rather than just individuals as well. So that's important too.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned culture, Todd, and I think it does start with understanding ourselves as a school, as a culture. What is it about our culture? Being able to define it and speak to it, and see how it shapes and evolves over time, and recruiting for that, not just recruiting for a position, but recruiting for the community more broadly. And whether it's a student, a family applying to enroll, or a teacher applying for a job, it's still this same conversation around, is green school right for you, is something that we like to have, because it's not for everyone. And I think our teachers work really hard, and it's really hot, and collaborating requires, and creating requires extra energy, and it's not always fun, and it also requires compromise as well in there. So I think we've learned a lot, Sal, wouldn't you say, over the years in what to look for and how to test and how to find the right people. And Todd, someone asked me a while ago, they were visiting the school, and they said, how do projects get started, like hands-on projects at the school, environmental projects? Is there a process? Do you fill out some forms? Does someone approve that? How do teachers activate those things and get a collaboration going? And I thought about it, and I thought, well, literally it could just be, someone passes someone outside the bathroom or getting lunch and just starts a conversation, and it can start something like that. And so that gives people anxiety sometimes, because they actually want to see the system. How does that all work? But so much of it actually is cultural. It's cultural. It's our way we work. It's the way it's what we expect of each other, and a sense of community, and a shared kind of mission, all that good stuff.
Bend like bamboo, hey? That's certainly
I get in trouble for saying that too many times.
Especially
I think in the last 12 months might have overplayed that card.
Oh, Sal, you want us to bend like bamboo again? Like,
Look, Kate and Sal, I'm conscious of the time here as well, and just for our audience members both here on the Zoom and the live stream, what I will do is, once we finish this Q&A, is I'll play the video of the virtual tour that was pre-recorded for us, so we can have a walk around that beautiful bamboo campus. But I'm going to just ask if there's any last questions from our live audience here. Peter, I know you're going to have a question. Come on. No?
Can I ask a question there, Jen?
Fantastic, Heath. Great.
I'm really interested in what you were talking about a bit earlier in terms of obviously there's a significant proportion of perhaps the expat population that have that environmental approach and are innovative people and positive people and have chosen, we're really comfortable with your approach. But I'm just thinking it's so highly innovative that how do you get a level of comfort for parents of your senior school students who, when push comes to shove, that they need an outcome at the end of it? And I'm just really interested in the sort of approaches you use there.
Yeah, awesome question, because it's an annual. We see an annual cycle. We have a 2-year grade 11 and 12 diploma program, and so every year about this time, our grade 10s who are thinking about and committing to the 2 years of grade 11 and 12 the students and the parents, the anxiety levels rise a little bit. And then throughout, once they do come into the program, we see the different anxiety curves in terms of what are they going to get out of this and where do they go to next. When you create a new model and you create a new description of what the school does and the learning experience, which we've talked about already, you're also very mindful of how that transfers to a tertiary education somewhere else. I suppose part of it is it Peter? Part of it is that we've decided that our programs are good and they're strong. And through 8 years of graduates, we've seen our graduates go to university. Sometimes they have to go on a slightly different pathway to get there. Sometimes they're straight in, or sometimes it's a little bit different.
Sometimes they get offered a scholarship to Harvard and say, no, thank you.
Yeah, we've had that.
Literally.
But we've decided that the program's strong and that with integrity we stand and say that the learning program here is amazing. Our graduates leave as awesome people with an amazing e-portfolio, with a Greenstone talk and with a high school diploma. And with that, they can go off to any pathway that they get. It takes a lot of convincing and we need to reconvince. But I think it's important for us. We haven't bent too much in terms of adding on AP classes, SAT prep classes. Maybe we do a little bit of that to help people out. But I think staying true to what the mission of the school is and our understanding of what learning should be, it's been a strength of ours in the end. And I suppose in the end, people choose to stay or they choose to go. And sometimes, like Kate said before, it maybe not be the right place for them. So
yeah, I think it starts before a family enrolls, that clarity, because they might come for all the things that they think we are, and then they get here and then they want to stay longer than they thought. And they were in middle school and they want to go to high school, and now they would like the high school to be a bit different because it's not comfortable for them or whatever. So those conversations are ongoing. I'm so proud of the school that it has held the line all these years, and has just gotten better and stronger. And I think that having those really clear, really, really crystal clear conversations with families right at the beginning, as a child is going from middle school to high school or enrolling for the first time in high school, is really important. And it serves us well to have very frank conversations with families at that point around what they're expecting. And then protecting the teachers too, which I see you do, Sal, a lot as well, and being able to stand up and be united and talk about why we're doing things. But I think we're all learning. All of us are learning, the face of education is changing and the face of tertiary education is changing, and the way what universities are looking for, what employers are looking for is all changing as well. And so, it is true, some of
do they still give the ATAR score in Australia?
Yeah, do they still have that? I think they do.
Is that what you leave schools in Australia with a number still?
Yeah,
is that
I think
it?
it's
Yeah.
We get to be hold that mantle all on our own. We're the only country in the world that has a ranking system for our university, for our students to enter university. So other countries, yes, use a score, but we're unique in being able to rank our students against each other.
It's interesting. It's interesting question that you raised, Heath. We recently convened a meeting of 8 of the most innovative schools in the world, including Leslie Medema, who represents or who leads the overall Green School program. And out of a 2-hour conversation, so you think about this, you've got together the founders or key drivers of 7 of the most innovative schools in the world for 2 hours. 20 minutes was devoted to what do we do when kids reach year 12 and how do we get them into uni. It's just horrific that right at the pointy edge of educational innovation in the world, that is still the topic of conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, our dealing with universities from the school, so often the message is, don't we have enough straight A students that can play the violin? We do not need more. Thank you. We are looking for something different, and we want a portfolio that shows that this is someone that turns up. I mean, I don't mean just turns up to class, is tuned in, understands the power that they have as a learner and as a human in the world, and is going to be additive to the culture of the school or the university, has the skills to be an independent learner, you know, knows themselves. Like, they're just looking for different things. And I think that, you know, a lot of us are catching up, actually, and that is only going to continue to change. But I think for parents, you know, we have to help educate parents, because I know for myself as a parent, you know, my frame of reference was when I left school and went to university, and things have changed, and I'm not in education professionally, and I work here at the school, but it's not my background. So I haven't been keeping pace really with what's going on. And so for me to learn and understand not just what we do here at Green School, but contextualize that in terms of what's happening in the world more generally, and pathways to university.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sal and Kate, thank you, my friends, for taking the time today. I'm truly appreciative, as is all of us on the call today. Some great insights. I'm hoping for all of those on the live stream and on the call today that this has been a catalyst for that further conversation around the future of schooling and the schooling for now. Thank you both so much, and I hope to see you in Bali soon.
Yes.
Once those borders open. Please do stay on the call. I will play a live tour of Green School.
And Jen, can I just say, come, I know it's hard to come here now, but like pencil it in the diary for a little bit down the track. We love having visitors. We learn when people come and connect with us, and we have this great Green Educator program as well. And we would love to share some of that with you also. It's such a great way for two-way kind of professional development and network building with like-minded people. So
we've got we're just launching our state tours. So with the borders opening in Australia, we've got one happening later this month at the end of May, and we hope next year that the international borders will be open. We resume the International Future School Alliance tours, and Green School, don't you worry, it's right at the top of that list. Absolutely. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I
you,
will
everyone.
play that now. Drive safely home on your scooters.
Yeah.
Bye, and stay online. I will play the tour now. There we go. There you are, Sal.
Hi. I've made my way to the third floor of the heart of school. The heart of school is our middle school learning neighbourhood. I'm in a typical bamboo Green School classroom, because you can see there is no walls. All of our classrooms are surrounded by gardens which our students play and learn in. We also have an amazing, beautiful river that's running really loud just down the hill, our solar farms, the iHub, the music centres, art centres, everything here is amazing and provides probably that structural, that physical campus that we know that at Green School Bali helps us bring a learning program to life. Our students are provided the opportunities to not just learn about nature, but learn in nature. We have 4 learning neighbourhoods. Our youngest learners, the early years, up to kindergarten. Primary school, from grades 1 to 5. Middle school, grades 6, 7 and 8. And high school, grades 9 to 12. At Green School, our learning is for now, not for later. It needs to be fun, but it needs to be meaningful. And that looks different in each learning neighbourhood. Our early years program is nature and play-based. Yes, students start to develop literacy and numeracy skills. But it's more important for our youngest learners to develop a connection with nature and a connection with their peers and a connection with their learning. In primary school, our students begin to learn who they are. They discover themselves, and our learning program allows that to happen. It makes that happen. The big projects, little projects, projects in the garden. Also strong thematics program connected to nature and sustainability. In middle school learning can become a little bit messy. Our middle school program is set up to allow students to elect certain parts of their learning program. So they have strong literacy and maths classes. They also have an amazing thematics program based on the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Our grade 8 students at the end of middle school do a capstone project, which is based on their own sustainability passion project. In high school, our students are ready to make an impact in the world. Our program allows students to develop the life skills required and the mindsets needed to take action and to use their learning. High school students do a lot of projects. Their culminating project, their Greenstone, is an amazing year-long learning journey where students choose a sustainability-based project and bring that project to life. we are a community of learners. It's not just a school community, it's about our local community too. We're not just an international school in an international bubble. We are deeply connected to our local community. I'm lucky to have with me today, Ibu, how are you?
I'm good, thank you Pak Sar, selamat pagi.
Selamat pagi. Ibu Dawi is a parent. Ibu Dawi has been on our board, and Ibu Dawi is an amazing, important member of our school administration team. Are you good today, Ibu?
Yeah, I'm feeling very good.
Talk to us, talk to us about the types of connections that we have with the culture of Bali at Green School Bali.
I feel so grateful becoming a part of this community because the local community here is really engaged and involved with the international community, and this is, I believe, that would be very important for our international community because we can bring everything together, like we connect. If we have something in our local community, we always have a chance to bring that together within our community. And for example, if we have like every 6-month celebration here for honoring Goddess of Knowledge, that's called Saraswati. So we're inviting all the community to come. We have dance, we have gamelan that every parent and their family can have it here together. So it's amazing.
So we learn and we share and we celebrate together.
That's what we're doing here.
As a global community.
As a global community. And other thing is also really, really interesting for me, so that this is becoming like the biggest reason for me as a parent to send my kids here at Green School. Yes.
Tell us why.
So,
what's it about Green School for a local student?
As a Balinese community, we are like once again saying like this is a great opportunity that we have a chance to learn international education with that kind of standard that they can improve themselves. I mean, our local children here, but at the same time, we have a chance to bring our culture also with them. But we learn a lot also from our international community because this is like making a balance.
The learning is definitely two ways.
Yes, yeah. And we have a program if there is no COVID. We have like an after-school activities, we have a dance activities, we have a gamelan activities.
So there's 37 local scholars at the school at the moment.
Yes, at the moment.
Yeah.
And
but we also, like you said, when we're allowed to fully open the campus, we invite more than 300 other local students to learn numeracy, literacy, English skills, but also sustainability education.
Of course.
Too.
And other thing that is very interesting is also because we also still learn kelas budaya. Yes, budaya class and bahasa Indonesia. So we bring that together in thematic, and then even like they put it in thematic and making like a such ogoh-ogoh. Maybe you know that kind of parade that's very famous here in Bali. Yeah, before Nyepi Day.
The big monsters.
Yes, the big monster. But a lot of things is inside there, like the local wisdom is in there. Yes.
That's beautiful. Thanks very much.
This is one of my favorite places on the campus. We're right down here by the river. Behind me is the Ayung, the Great Ayung River, and it powers right through our campus. It's a force of nature. It's also a source of energy. Right here down at the river, we have our very own micro-hydro system, the Green School Vortex. And this vortex provides a majority of the power that we use here on the campus, and it forms part of Operation Rain or Shine. So along with our other renewable energy systems, we try and offer a range of different learning opportunities for our children to see all the different ways Mother Nature can help power our campus, our community, and the world. Clean, renewable, and reliable energy. I'm here on the top floor of the heart of school, and this is home base for our middle schoolers. And you can see behind me here some of our renewable energy technologies. We really love the idea at Green School that the whole campus is a classroom, the whole campus is a laboratory, and that we can innovate and we can find solutions to real problems right here on the campus. This solar system here is part of Operation Rain or Shine, which was a high school-led initiative that's ongoing, looking at understanding and implementing different types of clean, reliable, renewable energy right here on our campus. Everyone in our community has a part to play in making our world sustainable, starting right here on the campus. We have in our main car park our waste recycling centre, so all families can bring their recyclables there, sorted, to be responsibly moved on to recyclers on the island. But the very best of that trash we keep right here on the campus because this is a resource for learning. So in this area here in our Community Innovation Hub is Kambali. And in Kambali we have resources here that can be used. So some of these products can be used raw for projects here on the campus that the students are involved in. But we also have some really cool equipment in here. So we can take certain types of plastics and they can be processed into filament like this that can be further processed into a form that we can put into molds. So you can literally bring in some plastic trash and leave with a plate or a fork or a bowl or something useful. We've even had kids make recycled surfboard fins, which are really expensive here. So very cool product, limited only to the imagination. Here we are at the Human Resources Centre, otherwise known as the toilets. This is one example of our composting toilet system that we have at Green School. Composting toilets don't need to be nasty. We have a fantastic odorless, waterless, chemical-free system that takes human waste and turns it into organic matter that can go back into the earth in a really safe way. These toilets are really beautiful. Our parents helped design these structures. So they're super friendly, they're actually a work of art and really inviting even for the tiniest of people. That's our take on composting toilets at Green School. Just pulling up in the garage, friends. We ride in style and sustainably at Green School. Our biobus transport service normally operates 5 days a week, taking our children to school and back home again in the afternoons. Our biobuses run on used cooking oil, which the students are involved in collecting from hotels and restaurants around Bali. So it helps them dispose of used cooking oil in a responsible way, and it powers our buses. I'm not actually allowed to drive the biobus, but I am allowed to use this. So for any families who don't ride the biobus and have a diesel vehicle, they can fill their car up right here on the campus at the biodiesel pump station. As well as the biodiesel bus service and the pump station in the car park to fill up your diesel vehicle, we also have electric charge stations here on the campus. So electric motorbikes are a growing option for transport around Bali, and you can plug in right here. We're entering primary school, and in primary school every class has their own set of gardens that they work with. In the upper school the students work with more cooperative gardens and working with permaculture principles to grow things that are beautiful but also that are edible and medicinal. And right here in primary at a grade 1 classroom, we can see in the garden here we've got corn, we've got papaya, we've got bananas, we've got flowers bringing the bees and the butterflies, and of course always so quintessentially Bali, the lemongrass. Our campus is wild. It's intentionally rugged. We design it this way. This is great for kids' gross motor skills, but also their cognitive development. So everything is designed by intention, but we work with what is already here. On my left here, you can see these beautiful springs. This is where we hold special ceremonies during the year. It's quite a sacred place on the campus. It's really calm and very peaceful. On my right, in contrast, this pit of mud comes to life because this is the Green School mud pit. It's a really popular place on the campus. So yes, our children get in here. It's like baby elephants on a hot day, cooling down in the mud and the water. Also, while I'm here, over there is Grasshopper Grove. This was named by our early years students because this is a great place to go if you want to find grasshoppers, dragonflies and butterflies. No two buildings on the Green School campus are the same. Every single one of them is unique. Every single one of them is also a work of art. We're here in the Green School Yoga Studio. This beautiful space comes to life when the children come in here for yoga sessions. Nothing is more beautiful than stopping in here and watching the 3-year-olds take yoga. It is pure joy. It's a beautiful space. I can hear the river behind me here. There's a gentle breeze coming through here. It's a very, very serene and special place on our campus. This is unbelievable. You know, at Green School, we're all about community, and rising behind me here is our new community centre. It's a gymnasium, it's a place for events, it's a place for gatherings, celebrations, our capstone events each year. We can't wait for it to be finished and get inside there. I'm here at the Bridge, and this is Green School for grown-ups. Talks, courses, workshops, socialising, outings in Bali all come through the Bridge. Right behind me here is our parent co-working space, but it's really much more than that. It's co-working, it's co-learning, it's co-creating, communicating, connecting, and building friendships. We really love the idea that Green School is not just for the children, it is for the grown-ups too. So being a community is very much an important piece of the Green School experience, right from the very beginning of the school, right through to today, even in the current situation. And I'm really happy to be here this morning in the Bridge, which is the Green School co-working space, with my friend Sanjana, who is a new parent to Green School. Just joined us this school year, and super nice to have a little chat with you, Sanjana.
Thrilled to be here. I'm so happy to finally be a part of the Bridge and the Green School community.
Great. So we have had to be really creative around how we build and maintain and nurture our sense of community during this time over the past 12 months in particular. So a lot of the things we ordinarily do to help parents get involved with the school and feel connected, we've had to find creative ways around to still hold that space and hold that sense. It's really valuable to us. So in coming here as a new parent and connecting with the community, the parent community first and foremost, you know, that's something we always hope and wish our parents experience when they're new here. And what's your experience been of that?
You know, before we actually moved to Green School to Bali, we came in to spend a couple of days to see how the community works last year. And I have to say that for 1 year, we've been talking about not our son joining the school, but us as a family getting involved with Green School. Now that I'm finally here, everything that we talked about for the last year is actually coming true. In its own way, in its own different way, but I don't think it's less than anything else that would have gone place. So yeah, thrilled to be here, and I can't imagine how much more active the community would be if we didn't have this pandemic situation to deal with.
Yeah, well, that's great, and it's reassuring to hear that. You know, that's what we hope for our families, that they do feel connected and do feel part of a community and a movement, really. And we don't just hope for it, I guess. We try our best to sort of nurture that and nourish that in many different ways. Right here on the campus, we are opening up some parent programs, some outings for parents in Bali, called Truly Bali, to help our parents that have come from abroad to really connect more deeply with Bali and the experience there, as well as some events virtually and in person that we're running around really our parents sharing with other parents, right, their know-how, their story, their background, their skills and so on. And then taking that further to then connect our parents to our students. So one of the things we do is try and facilitate mentorships from our parent community to particularly our grade 12 students, but also our grade 8 students on their capstone projects. And right, that is just beautiful to watch that happen. And I think it's all part of the idea of walllessness, that walllessness is not just the physical way we arrange our campus and build our classrooms, but also the way we think about ourselves as a community, that it's not teachers in one group and students and parents are over here, and that there's some sort of separation, but how can we find ways that work for everyone to create those connections?
You know, that circle of trust, essentially what you're describing, is very obvious. It's there from the time I dropped my son off to the time I'm dealing with Bali and living in Bali, because I am new here, you know, so I do have to deal with, I'm going to say this, bats and geckos and everything else, you know, it's part of the experience. But it's not difficult. It's not been difficult at all because of that circle of trust. You know, I can reach out to anybody and have a chat with them about what's the best way to do this. You know, how do I react to this, and what do I need to do to think about this particular thing. So that circle of trust, it's very much alive, and it's one of the reasons why I'm so glad that we made this decision to come.
You know, Sanjana, we always encourage new parents to tap into the kind of the great font of wisdom that is our collective parent body, you know, in all things sort of living in Bali. You talked about the bats and the geckos and all of those things, and you know, the biggest sort of community of parents are really a hive of information and knowledge. Is that something you've been tapping into?
All the time. You know, there's no question that's ridiculous to ask within that circle of trust. I can ask people where I can get the best mozzarella, to what do I need to do with bats, you know, what do I need to do with bug sprays, and every aspect of life that I can think about, whether it's medical to whether it's more superficial, I want my comfort food, what do I need to do to get that? It's all addressed, you know, and there are people there who have answers. 11 in the night you ask a question, 2 minutes later you get an answer. You know, it's phenomenal. I can't believe that there is this circle of trust, and there's so much conversation that's happening. I think for me, apart from that fount of wisdom that you talked about, is the openness. There is no question that's ridiculous to ask, and I feel that. You know, I don't feel hesitant, I don't feel nervous about asking anything really to that, you know, within that circle. So that's amazing as well.
You know, I'm here every day, and you sometimes forget how incredibly beautiful and original this campus is. And I'd love to ask you about your first impressions, the first time you physically set foot on the campus here.
You know, it was an incredible experience, but more than talking about my own experience and my husband's experience, because we had been exposed to the videos on YouTube, you know, we'd seen the TED Talks, we'd seen the website. I'd love to talk about how my son reacted to it. I have a 5-year-old, and we spent a day here at Green School. And at some point, 3 hours into spending that day, he turned around and he said, "Okay, but where's school?" And I said, "We are in school." He said, "No, but where's school? You know, the place where I'm supposed to study." And, you know, it took us 10 minutes to explain to him that this was his school, that he was going to be studying with cows and chickens and, you know, the vortex and the river and the bridge. That was his school. You know, that idea for me to explain to him that school can be as beautiful, as different from his imagination. He's only 5, you know, and yet that question was so strong, and that impression that it made on him was so vivid.
I love that. Out of the mouths of babes. Yeah. But where is school? He was looking for the box.
He was looking for the classroom.
Yes.
He was looking for the box. He
Yes.
was looking for the place where he could go in.
Yeah.
You know, the idea that there would be a teacher with a blackboard, there would be little desks, even, you know, little desks, because he's tiny.
Yeah.
But he was looking for that, and he just couldn't find that. And so he thought we were tricking him into saying yes, because we wanted him to agree to the decision as well. So he kept saying, "But where is school? You know, like, you're bringing me here to go to school. Where is school?" So that sort of, I think, clinched the decision for us as a family, that we wanted him to rethink what school could be. It was so important for us.
I love that. And how about settling into school? How's that process been for him?
Day 1, he didn't want to go in. Day 2, he didn't want to go in. Day 3, he complained because it was online school. He wanted to go back to campus. Day 4 onwards, I haven't heard, you know, a single complaint. He's up at 6 a.m., which is, you know, phenomenal for me. Getting ready to go to school and play with his friends. I think I have to say this, and I'm so grateful for all the teachers and, you know, for this community for keeping the school open. We spent 1 year last year not having this kind of interaction for him, and I know how much goes into that. So, thank you.
Well, that's what we're here for. That's what we do, and the energy, the colour, the movement, the sounds of having the children on site for learning is a beautiful thing, and we feel incredibly privileged to have him here, and incredibly grateful to all our families too, particularly our new families that have moved across the planet to be part of it. So it's fantastic talking with you this morning, Sanjana.
Thank you. It's anything I could do to talk about this. I'm thrilled to be here.
Should we go and have a cup of coffee?
Sure, absolutely.
Hi, my name is Fabrice. I'm a Green School parent, and my wife and I have one daughter basically at Green School, and she's attending grade 11. I've been here for 12 years, so I've known, and I do know very well, the ins and outs of traveling to Bali, living in Bali, and I'm happy to come here and share some tips with you. And next to that, I do also have a business, a travel business, that is basically helping and assisting people travel, especially through these troubled times. So to come to Indonesia, indeed, you do need a visa, and there's different types of visas. What is very important is that this is a very fluid situation, and that means that between now and when you plan to come in August or later in the year, many things might change, regulations might change. So it's very important that you stay in very close contact with school, so that we can give you the most up-to-date information. Some families have a lot of experience already traveling around the world and sometimes resettling already, being expats, knowing the expat life. And others, it's your first time packing up your stuff and relocating on the other side of the world. And it's a huge decision. But always remember, especially with Green School, you're never alone. You never stand alone. You have a whole community around you. I personally, this is one of the reasons why I'm at Green School. It's this community life all around us, being as one, and that's just the beauty of the thing. Especially, and we've experienced that even more through this COVID time. So what I would recommend is, if you are still where you are and you're making your plans and you're trying to figure out how and what, make use of that community. And that means make sure that if you're a Facebook user, that you use the Green School New Families page, that you join the Green School New Generation page. There's a housing page, there's a travel page. We've got WhatsApp groups for communities and for the community living here. So there's so many resources, and you'll see the moment you ask one question, you are going to have 100 answers to your question. So make use of it. We're here for you, and we look forward to welcoming you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I'm just see who we've still got online. I might be talking to an empty audience, but regardless, a big thank you for everyone that came to our virtual school tour of Green School. Quite an inspiring space. I was out at Green School between 2013 to 2016. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you were not answered tonight on the virtual call. Just make a time with me. We will see you online again next week. We have the Momentum series and a think tank. Good night, everyone. Wonderful. All right. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Peter. You're on mute.
There we go.
Worked out all right. That was great.
I didn't know when it was going to end. I had a mouthful of biscuit.
Oh, geez. It's
We're still live.
Oh, yes. Stop recording. And